Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Eloisa Ramos, and today we are here with my friend Connie. Hi, Connie.
Hello.
And we are studying the text of A Course in Miracles. We left off on chapter 14, Teaching for Truth, and we are starting section 8, the Holy Meeting Place. Which is interesting. I was just looking at the lesson for today, which is my holiness envelops everything I see. And so now we come to the section of the holy meeting place. So I thought that was pretty, no coincidence, right? So let's start. Just if we can just go there. Okay, let's see. Holy meeting place. In the darkness, you have obscured the glory God gave you and the power he bestowed upon his guiltless Son. All this lies hidden in every darkened place, shrouded in guilt and in the dark denial of innocence. Behind the dark doors you have closed lies nothing, because nothing can obscure the gift of God. It is the closing of the doors that interferes with recognition of the power of God that shines in you. Banish not power from your mind, but let all that would hide your glory be brought to the judgment of the Holy Spirit, and there undone. Whom he would save for glory is saved for it. He has promised the Father that through him you would be released from littleness to glory. To what he promised, God, he is wholly faithful, for he shares with God the promise that was given him to share with you. Okay, I don't know if that's a little confusion because it's all of the, he and his, but it's really the Holy Spirit um, with God. Was that confusing, Connie? No?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So,
good.
mhm.
Yeah, they're one and the same.
Yeah, I mean, everything, yeah, in the end, everything is just God.
Yes.
And until the mind completely knows that, we have these, let's see, these steps along the way to help us,
Yes.
get there.
Our guide.
Yeah. So, okay. So in the darkness, you have obscured the glory that God gave you and the power he bestowed upon his guiltless Son. Okay. So the previous sections have, really emphasized the guiltlessness part of our creation. Okay. And the previous section and maybe the one before that also really emphasized the idea of not hiding anything, because the Holy Spirit will not be able to undo that if we hide it. And it's not that what we hide is fearful, is the hiding itself that makes it fearful. Okay. So it's continuing this theme here. So in the darkness you have obscured the glory of God. So what is really hidden is not truly fearful. We have just made it fearful, because what's there is the glory that God gave us. Okay. But all this lies hidden in every darkened place that is shrouded in guilt. So once we accept guilt, we are basically kind of putting a cloud of unknowing over it, so over our mind, so that we forget, there's an unawareness of our true essential nature as God created us, which is guiltless. So this is saying, yes, it's a denial of innocence. That's what darkness is. That's all it is. And behind these dark doors of denial, okay, there's nothing there, okay, because nothing can really block the gift of God. We just think it can. So we are working with our own illusions or our own error in our thinking, and we're releasing that, which is the block to our own awareness. It really has nothing to do with God, and what is truly in our mind. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And so it's emphasizing here in line 4 that it is the closing of the doors that interferes with the recognition of the power of God that shines in us. Okay. It is only that we close those doors that interferes. So it is, you could say that, and a lot of the lessons have been emphasizing this, that we can just change our mind and decide and just open those doors. Because it is our own making of fear that is closing those doors. There's nothing really truly fearful there. Okay, so and so what we do when we close doors and when we become afraid of God, when we make a fearful image of God and of each other, of ourselves, is that we become an image of something that is very powerless, a victim, something that is alone in a world, in an environment that we think can attack us. So we buy into the separation. And that is the only thing that needs to be undone or healed. Because we have forgotten, okay, Holy Spirit is reminding us the separation never happened. Okay, so you're believing something, you're buying into something, an idea that is not true. And that would hide the glory, okay, that of the Holy Son of God. Yes, but if we're willing to open the mind and bring that, all of that to the Holy Spirit, the light of the Holy Spirit, the knowledge, our link to knowledge will undo that. And they're undone by the judgment of the Holy Spirit. Okay. Because the judgment of the Holy Spirit is not like the judgment of the ego. The judgment of the Holy Spirit is true perception. So it's a discernment between what is real, a real thought, and what is unreal, which we call illusion or the belief in separation. And so whom he, capital H-E, would save for glory is saved for it. So here, we are being referred to now with a capital H as the Son of God, the Christ mind, because today's lesson, is accepting that my mind is a part of God's mind, and therefore I am very holy. That was yesterday's lesson. And if I am very holy, then I have not changed how God has created me. And I am still the same capital H-E creation that is the Son of God. So, okay, so line 7 is he. Oh, you know what? I think I misinterpreted that. I think here the he is actually, yeah, it's referring to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, I've never seen the Son of God with a capital H. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Okay.
but the thing about it is that we're kind of heading there anyway, because
Yeah.
the Holy Spirit is really our right mind. So it's our true mind. There's a true mind and there's a false mind. When we buy into the ego thought system, we're thinking with our wrong mind, which is false. Okay. And what we are is mind, is not body. Okay. If we think with the Holy Spirit, we're identifying with a false mind that we made up as beliefs that we made up that are not true. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the true mind, which is Holy Spirit guidance, is the same as what we are in the end. It's a recognition. But yes, so the he here is really Holy Spirit. And then 7, he, Holy Spirit, has promised the Father that through him, Holy Spirit, you would be released from littleness to glory. Yeah. So to what he promised, God, Holy Spirit, promised God, he, Holy Spirit, is wholly faithful. For he, Holy Spirit, shares with God the promise that was given him, Holy Spirit, to share with you. Okay. So Holy Spirit is able to speak to us in what we call our split mind. That's why there's a you here with a small u. That's the little self that still entertains the idea that the separation happened. Okay. And so Holy Spirit, our right mind, if we open our mind, will then be able to share with us the truth of what we are to help undo the belief that we are separate, and let go of the denial. Okay.
I like what you said. If we will open our mind, it's there. It's there.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
little bit of willingness
Hmm.
to remember. Okay. 2. He shares it still for you. Everything that promises otherwise, great or small, however much or little valued, he will replace with the one promise given unto him to lay upon the altar to your Father and his Son. No altar stands to God without his Son, and nothing brought there that is not equally worthy of both, but will be replaced by gifts, wholly acceptable to Father and Son. Can you offer guilt to God? You cannot then offer it to his Son, for they are not apart. And can you scroll down?
Oh,
And
yeah.
gifts,
Yep.
let's
Yep.
see,
Yep.
7, for they are not apart, and gifts to one are offered to the other. You know not God because you know not this, and yet you do know God and also this. All this is safe within you, where the Holy Spirit shines. He shines not in division, but in the meeting place where God, united with his Son, speaks to his Son through him. Communication. I lost my. Oh, communication between what cannot be divided cannot cease. The holy meeting place of the unseparated Father and his Son lies in the Holy Spirit and in you. All interference in the communication that God himself wills with his Son is quite impossible here. Unbroken and uninterrupted love flows constantly between the Father and the Son, as both would have it be. And so it is. Okay, have at it.
Okay. 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 So it starts off by talking about it shares it. So it is talking about the previous paragraph. Okay. Um, that 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 the Father would have the Holy Spirit release us from littleness to glory. Okay. Um, and this is what the Holy Spirit promised God that he would do, and he's wholly faithful. Okay. So you could say that the purpose for the Holy Spirit is um, to help us remember the truth of what we are. Okay, that's what he promised God, and that's what the purpose for what God gave him. Okay. Okay, so this everything that promised. Okay, so he shares it still for you. So this still is true. Okay, that this is the purpose for the Holy Spirit. So anything that would go against that purpose, that would make us little instead of glorious in the name of God, right? Um, which would be the ego thought system. Holy Spirit, will replace with the one promise given unto him. Okay. Okay, so in other words, in other places, the Course says that that the Holy Spirit is the translator, or that whatever the ego makes, the Holy Spirit then uses um, to bring healing to the mind, to help undo the very same thought system that we made. Okay, so that's what this is saying here. That he will replace with one promise given unto him, to lay upon the altar to your Father and his Son. So uh, so Holy Spirit will vision, will see everything, will reinterpret everything, like today's lesson, right? Um, it's taking us from seeing with our body's eyes a world of separation to my holiness envelops everything I see. So now we're looking at everything we see through vision, which is Holy Spirit, not through the body's eyes, which is ego thought system. So this lesson is stating what is saying here, that the purpose of the Holy Spirit is to help us learn to see through the eyes or the vision of the Holy Spirit, which is the voice for God, for the truth that the separation never happened. And once we accept that, once we accept the atonement, separation never happened, the mind will then be able to see that, because this world is a world of perception where we see what we want to see, where everything that we think we are is reflected back to us because of the idea of projection, okay, or extension, which is, sharing or trying to get rid of. But either way, it's going to show us what we believe we are. And okay, so this paragraph is also talking about how there's a meeting place here. And let's see, and it's calling that the altar. So no altar stands to God without his Son. Yeah, and so this altar is the meeting place. It's and the condition is that we accept our guiltlessness, our sinlessness. So let's see. So with the help of the Holy Spirit, we can accept our guiltlessness, our innocence. And in that acceptance, the mind is in the meeting place where communication, let's see where it talks about communication. Communication 12, between what cannot be divided, cannot cease. Okay, so the Holy Spirit is the way to bring us back to direct communication with God, which is what we block when we accept separations of attack or thoughts of attack or the belief in separation. Let's see. Okay, and what it's saying here is that the practice of forgiveness here is the practicing of offering sinlessness or guiltlessness or offering innocence to God as a gift, as the condition that the mind is willing to open itself to receive that direct communication. And it's saying, well, can you offer this to God if you don't offer it to your brother? Well, no. So that's why the Course really emphasizes our only function is forgiveness. See, line 5, can you offer guilt to God? You cannot then offer it to his son. Okay. For they are not apart, and the gifts to one are offered to the other. So you could say that by offering forgiveness to our brother, we are actually opening our mind to receive the truth of what we are as the Son of God. So it's not really there's no separation there in that we're giving it to ourselves. So it's by offering guiltlessness, we are remembering our own guiltlessness, and that's the condition for coming to this meeting place where there can be direct communication with God. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. This also refers to the split mind here because it says okay, so let's see. Oh yeah, line 9. So it says, line 8, you know not God because you know not this. 7, for they are not apart. So what we offer our brother, we are offering God, and gifts to one are offered to the other because we're the same. There's no separation. Okay, so our mind is part of God's mind. So what we offer each other is what we are offering ourselves and offering God. You know not God because you know not this. And yet you do know God and also this. So that would be the split mind there. Okay. We have the memory of knowledge there because that's what the Holy Spirit is. We have not lost that. And yet we block that. So then we think we don't know this. Okay. And so this is saying, look, then you do know, and that is safe within you where the Holy Spirit shines. And the Holy Spirit shines not in division. So there's another place where it says that the miracle is seen in light. Okay, this is saying the same thing. Okay, the Holy Spirit shines not in division, but in the meeting place where God, united with his Son, speaks to his Son through him. So when we are receiving guidance from the Holy Spirit, we are in that meeting place where the light shines that is the source of the miracle. So miracles are seen in light. meaning that we have chosen forgiveness, we have chosen love rather than the grievance. And this is the communication. This is what let's see, extension, creation, communication is. Because the mind is no longer identified with being a separate self in time, but there's a meeting place there where it has these instants, the holy meeting place, holy instant, where the mind catches a glimpse of the truth. Um, yeah. So this is talking about communication, which is direct communication with God. So communication between what cannot be divided cannot cease. So even though we believe that our mind, which is whole, God created a whole, can be split, and we have that belief, and because of that belief, that's what we perceive. That does not mean that it has any effect on the communication. The communication's always there. Which is the holy meeting place of the unseparated Father and his Son, lies in the Holy Spirit and in you. So the holy meeting place is really the Holy Spirit. That is where we come to know our oneness as one Son of God, in the mind of God, unseparated from God, and unseparated from anything. That's why the lesson is my holiness envelops everything I see. Because even the seeming world of illusion then cannot be separate. So the separation vanishes there. So let's see. So then it just talks about how the interference here is impossible. So there is this holy meeting place where the thoughts, separated ideas are banished. They're not there because they were never real to begin with, the real world. So here, unbroken and uninterrupted, love flows constantly between Father and the Son, and both would have it be. And so it is. So it's a joining of will, okay, in the recognition that there was never a separation of will. The Son and the Father are one will. Okay, number 3.
That would be you.
Oh, thank you. It's just okay. Let your mind wander, not through darkened corridors, away from light's center. You and your brother may choose to lead yourself astray, but you can be brought together only by the guide appointed for you. He will surely lead you to where God and his Son await your recognition. They are joined in giving you the gift of oneness, before which all separation vanishes. Unite with what you are. You cannot join with anything except reality. God's glory and his Son's belong to you in truth. They have no opposite, and nothing else can bestow upon yourself. Okay, so this is just kind of, reinforcing what we were saying before. So the light center is the Holy Spirit. So, it's about practicing not letting ourselves be distracted by all these images and thoughts that are thoughts of separation. They, of course, calls them attack thoughts, and that's because it's a belief that we are not innocent. That's what attack is. It's a belief that, oh, somehow I'm guilty in some way, or someone else is guilty in some way of attack. So, and it can take a while to even begin to really discern with the Holy Spirit those thoughts, to be able to even what's the word, to be vigilant. This is what it's saying, is be vigilant here, and don't follow all these thoughts, believing they're true, because they're not. They're just darkness, and and they appear to block the light. So, and that would mean that we can choose to lead ourselves astray if we go off away from the light center. But if we want to be united, okay, the only way for us to be united and to really have peace, okay, is to be brought together by the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit shares the same purpose for everyone. And as long as we think that everyone has separate interests and separate purposes, there's not going to be the recognition of our oneness as one Son of God. So that's what He will surely lead you to where God and His Son await your recognition. So let's see, the healing of the mind is the opening to the recognition of the truth of oneness as one Son of God, capital H, capital S, His Son, one Creator, one Son, not individual, little people selves that are separate entities and bodies, because that's an idea of ego, of a separate, on its own, kind of a will of its own, and that's, and to believe that, to see that, would mean that there would be no joining, true joining. I mean, the ego has its own version of what it calls joining, but it's not oneness. It'll say it's oneness, like, oh, let's congregate, let's come together, for maybe like for a party, or a celebration, or for let's go and clean up the environment, or let's go and do something, as a congregation or a church or something. But we're still looking at a congregation of individual parts, you see. We're still holding on to the idea of individuality. So that's not what this is talking here when it says joined, and giving you the gift of oneness. Okay. It's the letting go of the belief in an individual self that we're calling oneness. So they are joined in giving you the gift of oneness, before which all separation vanishes, so that the perception would completely undo what the body's eyes are seeing. Separate houses, separate cars, separate buildings, separate people, separate kitties, separate all of that. And so, yeah, like, see, 6, you cannot join with anything except reality. So there is no joining in unreality. There is no joining in the ego thought system. Okay. And it's just emphasizing, okay, God and His Son as one creation, as truth, have no opposite. And so let's see, God's glory and His Son's belong to you in truth. They have no opposite. And nothing else can you bestow upon yourself. So even though we want to believe that we can make ourselves into an individual, a self, we can't really do that. We just think we can. So it is an illusion, a delusion, a dream, whatever. that there can be something separate apart from what God creates as his son, and that it can somehow be in opposition or have a separate will that can oppose, which is the idea of sin, of guilt, of being sinful, of attacking God. If I don't know, do something um, that I think God doesn't approve of. So, okay. Anything, Connie? Any questions?
Uh, no,
Okay.
this is great. Just, yeah. I do appreciate that one line. You cannot, and your example of, having you cannot join with anything except reality. And just the example of we think we're joining when we're getting together with a group of people, friends or whatever for dinner, but really what's really underneath that is what we're wanting to join with.
Yes, so you have to take it back to the purpose. What is
Yeah,
the purpose for coming together for dinner?
yeah,
What is
yeah,
it for?
yeah.
So it's for, is it for love or is it for, I don't know, talking about what's happening in politics or in the world or, you know, separation. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I don't know if you watched the Grammys last night.
Oh
Uh,
no, the power went out.
oh, just quickly along this line, we watched part of it, but anyway, how just noticing in the audience how when they're a group of people, they're trying to decide the winner of that group, and then how some seem very gracious and joyous for whoever won that particular award. And then there are others that seem to have, a whole look of disappointment. But I was struck by the ones that seemed to really join and be happy for one of their uh, people that were also nominated in the group and could see their genuine happiness for them. I mean, it seemed like they were coming together more in that way rather than separating it out. Oh, I lost. Oh, she won, or whatever.
Mhm.
So just noticing the differences there was kind of something to, yeah.
Yeah,
If that,
so that's a good example because, we can share in happiness with each
yeah,
other.
that was,
Yeah, so that would be coming together in oneness. You see,
mhm,
because there's no loss. In oneness, there's never
mhm.
any loss because we are one self. So if my coworker wins, well, then I win too because I get to share in their happiness. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah. But once we interpret it with the ego,
Oh
then there's
boy.
this idea of scarcity and there's a sense of loss. So there's a sense of gain and there's a sense of loss and that that doesn't feel good. That's because we're not sharing in the joy there and the happiness of our brother.
We're not sharing, we're comparing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it was such an ego-driven event. So it was, you can really see the egos playing out, but also just to notice that there were some really genuine shared experiences, it seemed. So yeah, a good
Yes.
place to notice that.
Yeah, yeah, and then of course that's just reflecting back the split perception,
Right.
you see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're not both equally real there. Okay, one is
Well,
true perception and one is false perception.
okay, I see where you're going. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's
Mhm.
still perception.
It's still perception. Yeah.
Yeah, so is your power restored?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was only out for like probably about three hours or so.
Oh, good.
Hmm.
Okay, paragraph 4. There is no substitute for truth, and truth will make this plain to you as you are brought into the place where you must meet with truth. And there you must be led through gentle understanding, which can lead you nowhere else. Where God is, there are you. Such is the truth. Nothing can change the knowledge given you by God into unknowingness. Everything God created knows its creator. For this is how creation is accomplished by the Creator and by his creations. In the holy meeting place are joined the Father and his creations, and the creations of his Son with them together. There is one link that joins them all together, holding them in the oneness out of which creation happens.
Okay. So anything, Connie, that came
No.
up for you? No? Okay. Okay. So there is no substitute for truth. Period. We can think there is, and we can make false images, or we can make idols in the world, certainly, we
Yeah.
can worship we can worship many things in the world, right? Maybe even Grammys, right? You were talking about
Right, right,
Grammys.
right.
These big awards ceremonies and the prices, right, that are offered,
Oh my gosh.
of
And then we
specialness. Yeah.
have the Super Bowl coming up. My gosh, all the hoopla around it.
Yes, yes, yes. So, and that's okay. I mean, it doesn't change the truth that there is no substitute for truth. Okay. And so we are all going to be led to this meeting place. And it's just a matter of time.
Mhm.
Yes. So, for where God is, there are you. We cannot be anywhere other than where God is. Um, and the recognition of that can take, as long as we decide, um, because that's basically the only decision. Let's see, what does the course say? It says that we that we cannot change the curriculum, only the time we take it.
Mhm.
Um, so um, and that means that all spiritual paths in the end come to the same place. Regardless of which path they travel from, they all lead to the same place, which is where God is. There you are. Okay. Such is the truth. So nothing can change the knowledge given you by God into unknowing this. Okay. So to block the awareness of knowledge does not change knowledge. Okay. So to believe in separation does not change truth that there never was separation. You see what I'm saying? So we really we tout the power of belief in the world because we like to think that we can control what we manifest in the world. Okay, but knowledge is beyond the level of belief. So belief cannot touch knowledge. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, yes, we can all have different beliefs, and then we're going to have these quote unquote unique experiences. And then we're going to identify with them and say, well, yeah, this is who I am. Okay. It makes me a unique individual person. Okay. Um, and, but that's not what we are. That's just what we have made of ourselves or think we are. Okay. Um, and the truth cannot be changed by us thinking or believing that. Um, so, 7, everything God created knows its creator. And, it can be very confusing. I mean, I started back in college, asking myself, well, who am I? I've got all these little masks that I wear here. That's not really me. So, it's the same idea that well, wait a minute, how can I not know who I am? So there's just a lot of confusion because of what we've played out, roles that we've taken on and thought that's what we were, etc. So yeah. So everything God created knows its creator because this is how creation is accomplished. And we are the creation of God. Okay. So in our own creation is the very knowledge of what God is because it's what we are. We cannot be anything other than how we were created, which is eternal love, which is what God is. So we cannot be different than our creator. So in the holy meeting place are joined the Father and his creations and the creations of his Son with them together. So all of creation shares and is extended as one creation. And in this holy meeting place, that oneness is recognized. Um, yeah. And, the one link that joins them all together is Holy Spirit, holding them in oneness out of which creation happens. So we don't create individually. We only create in oneness. See, because there's another place where the Course says, on earth we heal and in heaven we create. So the unhealed mind does not create. It can believe it creates, but it's a making, it's not a creating. Because creating is eternal. It's an extension of the eternal nature of love, unconditional love. So anything else we make is going to be part of the illusion of impermanence, of making something that in the end is not going to last. It's going to have form, but the form is going to change with time. Yeah. Okay. All right. So 5. The link with which the Father joins himself to those he gives the power to create can never be dissolved. Heaven itself is union with all of creation and with its one creator. And heaven remains the will of God for you. Lay no gifts other than this upon your altars, for nothing can coexist with it. Here your little offerings are brought together with the gifts of God, and only what is worthy of the Father will be accepted by the Son, capital S, for whom it is intended. To whom God gives himself, he is given. Your little gifts will vanish on the altar where he has placed his own. Okay, so the link with which Father joins himself to those he gives the power to create is the Holy Spirit and can never be dissolved. So there can never be a time where we are not joined with our Creator, even though it can appear that way, or we can think that way, or believe that, and believe we are alone and abandoned and separate from God, or that we have changed ourselves and are no longer innocent. So that state of oneness is what is referred to as heaven. Heaven itself is union with all of creation and with its one creator, because in heaven there is no thought of separation. So it is reality as God creates it, not as a split mind, but as a whole mind. And heaven remains the will of God for you. So wholeness is the will of God, and that is heaven. There's another lesson that says, let's see, I must choose heaven or something like that. Heaven is the only decision I must make, or something like that. Do you remember that one?
I cannot think of the exact words, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Heaven, yeah. So it's the
something is
only
the decision I
decision.
must make.
Yeah, so it's like the only decision that there really is.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, is heaven, because that's what reality is. Any other decision would be for something that would be unreal, which would not actually be there to decide for. That's why we call it illusion.
mm.
Um, so,
Something like heaven is the decision I must make.
mhm.
Something anyway. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes. So let's see.
No wiggle room.
No wiggle room. That's right, because there is no opposite to truth,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
see. So anything that we would any little see this is talking about little gifts. So anything that we would want to hold on to that is unreal, okay, would be enough to say, oh, I have not decided for heaven here.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I've decided for fake news, fake reality.
um, yeah, and for believing basically my own imaginings, you
Hmm.
know, and for buying into fear, which is probably one of the let's see, it's probably one of the well, it's the only thing that we need to really release to open our mind to the truth, because we're the one that's making it. Um, and it has no reality, but boy, when we're in fear, it's such a visceral um, sensation. It's really
Feel.
yeah, hard to pull the mind from giving it belief. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Connie. So that's the section here, the holy meeting place. And let's see. So next time is the reflection of holiness. Okay. Anything before we stop?
No, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for joining today. And until next
Mhm.
time, bye.